Tom Cruise sat in a bright Hollywood suite, sunlight spilling across walls lined with movie posters and golden awards. He was practicing lines for his next big interview, voice smooth, gestures sharp, like a man born for cameras. Everything around him shone: polished floors, crystal glasses, the quiet hum of air conditioning, but beneath all that glitter, there was something else. Something that lived in the way he smirked when he thought no one was watching. Years in the spotlight had given him confidence, even a sense that the world bent a little for him. As he prepared, screens across the city flashed with his face from an earlier interview, the one that had gone live that morning. The set had been bright, the questions soft at first, until one reporter leaned in, voice steady, eyes fixed. "Do you regret saying African leaders are like children playing politics?" For a moment, Tom had paused, then let out that famous grin, the kind people thought was charming. "Come on," he said, with a small laugh. It was a joke. People are too sensitive these days. The words hung in the studio air like smoke, but Tom didn't see it. He didn't see the cameras catch that tilt of his head, that easy shrug, or how millions watched and felt the weight of what he dismissed. By afternoon, the clip had exploded across timelines, voices rising in anger, others in defense. Tom didn't scroll much. He trusted storms to blow over. In his mind, this was nothing more than noise. He leaned back in his chair now, stretching, smiling to himself. What he didn't know was that far away, in a small room with no bright lights, someone had heard his words. Someone who carried a different kind of power. And that call would change everything. Hollywood moved fast. Within hours of the viral clip, Tom's team gathered in a glass-walled office high above the city, laptops open, voices sharp. Words like damage control and containment filled the air as they drafted statements that sounded humble but felt hollow. They spoke about shaping the story, turning anger into misunderstanding. One PR manager leaned in, eyes fixed on Tom. "We need to control the narrative before this spirals." Tom shrugged, a small grin tugging at his lips. "It's nothing. People forget in 2 days." To him, this was another wave to ride out, another storm that would fade when the next scandal hit. He didn't see the cracks forming. Far away, in a quiet office in Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré sat at a simple wooden desk, a single fan pushing warm air across the room, papers stacked neatly, a chipped mug of tea by his hand. His face was calm, almost unreadable, but his eyes carried years of watching as people mocked, ignored, and stripped of respect by those who thought power was their birthright. He had lived through words that cut deeper than bullets, promises that built walls instead of bridges. In his mind, one memory burned bright: a younger Ibrahim, standing stiff in a foreign training camp, hearing a man in uniform laugh and say, "They'll never lead, they follow." That sentence never left him. It didn't make him loud. It made him strong, he thought now, staring at Tom's clip on a small screen. Dignity isn't loud. It waits. It strikes with truth. When an aide entered, phone in hand, the question came quick. Why call him? Why not let the storm eat him? Ibrahim didn't lift his eyes. Because storms wash away dirt. But only truth rebuilds. Moments later, a call was requested through channels Tom never thought existed. His phone buzzed hours later while he was lounging in his home theater, watching a reel of old stunts. When the message came through, "Ibrahim Traoré would like to speak with you privately," Tom laughed, tossing the phone on the couch. "Sure," he said, half amused. "Set it up. I'll talk to the guy." He had no idea this wouldn't be a conversation. It would be the turning point of his life. Tom sat in his office, the kind of room built to impress: glass walls, leather chairs, a row of golden awards lined up like soldiers. Sunlight poured in, bouncing off polished metal, but the glow felt harsh today. His phone buzzed on the desk, and when he picked it up, a voice came through, calm, steady, not loud, but firm enough to cut through the silence. Ibrahim spoke like a man who carried weight without raising his tone. It wasn't anger, it was something heavier: truth. "You once said African leaders are like children," Ibrahim began, his words smooth but sharp. "Tell me, Tom, what makes a man grown?" Tom let out a small laugh, the kind that hides nerves. "Experience, wisdom, responsibility," he said, trying to sound sure. Ibrahim didn't pause. "Then why do those with all the power build walls instead of bridges?" The question landed hard, stripping away the charm Tom wore like armor. For the first time, he had no quick line, no winning smile. Ibrahim spoke again, slower now, each word like a stone laid down. "When you joke, the world laughs. When we bleed, the world scrolls." Tom stared at the awards in front of him, fingers resting on one, tracing its edge. His reflection in the glass behind it looked smaller, almost glossy. Wanted to speak, but nothing came. Ibrahim gave him no anger, no insults, truth, and that truth felt heavier than any headline. Then came the last words, soft but unshakable. "Dignity isn't given by applause. It's held when the world tries to strip it away." The line sank deep, like a blade of ice. Tom swallowed hard, blinking fast, his chest tight as if the room had shrunk around him. For the first time, the man who played heroes felt the weight of being human. Tom sat alone in the quiet of his home office, the city lights stretching out beyond the glass walls like fallen stars. dimmer than he remembered. His phone glowed in his hand, notifications stacked like bricks. Headlines screaming the same truth. Ibrahim's words had spread, not through noise or scandal, but through their calm weight. Short clips of the call had leaked, and the world was sharing them, praising the man who spoke with dignity instead of rage. Tom scrolled past comment after comment, each one like a mirror he didn't want to face. Across the room, his awards caught the faint light, but they didn't shine the way they used to. They looked heavier now, like stones marking something lost instead of something won. Far away, in Burkina Faso, Ibrahim sat by a small window, the evening sun painting the room gold. He closed his notebook slowly and lifted a cup of tea to his lips. Outside, children ran barefoot on dry ground, chasing a ball, laughter ringing through the air. That sound was enough for him. He didn't need headlines or trending hashtags. For him, the truth had already done its work. Back in Los Angeles, Tom tried to speak. He called his daughter, left voicemails that started with stories about the day but ended in long silences where words refused to come. At one point, he whispered to himself, barely hearing his own voice, "I thought I knew power." Months later, he stood on a stage under soft lights. The kind of stage where every word is usually scripted, every gesture planned. But this time, he dropped the lines handed to him and spoke slowly, as if the truth was still settling in his chest. "A man across the ocean taught me something Hollywood never could." The room went still, the cameras clicked, and as his voice faded, one thought lingered like a quiet echo. Sometimes, the loudest revolutions happen in silence. Call it a time.